in a game, right? The benefit could be quite large, right? So, and then some particular frames of the game could be very efficient already from our existing efficiency techniques, right? So if you look at it, in some ways, right, it is basically our technologies to not draw things that user doesn't see, right? Keeps improving. And if you look at even the VR space, there is a lot of work and talk going on about foveated rendering and all. It's more of,
I hadn't thought of that. That makes sense.
Right in there. So I think what you'll see us do, Vega is a big step with the new architecture, but you'll see kind of this steady stream of like pixels that don't matter. How do we kind of reduce the cost of them, right? And the reason is simple, right? Because Gordon and me were talking about this stuff in there, that the cost of like gaming, actually, if you look at it, right, it's like you want to do 4K gaming, it's very, very expensive. So how do we bring that down? So we have to be much more efficient with what we do with transistors and to bring it down to the consumer. So that's the goal, right? It's sometimes people think that we're doing all of this to make something run faster or get higher benchmarks, but I look at it differently. That's just like, how can we bring like the great experience to lower price points because more users can enjoy. So that
was your idea with Polaris and RX 480, right? The same idea, making it more efficient, bringing it down to the $200 price point.
Right. It's then it's kind of connecting to what user experience are we trying to enable this year. Right, and then it's combination of performance, power envelopes, price, right? All of them kind of need to look at together. And by the way, that's one thing. I mean, I know we are on a PC gaming show. I mean, I look at it and say that there is a lot PC gaming can learn from game consoles, right? Like you see, in terms of the
you're going to have a good example to win him over.
Yeah, no, in terms of delivered performance per the cost factor, right in there, right in the thing in there, right? So, the PC gaming stuff is a little more, variable, right in there. So, and since our experience on the console and all, we look at it, we have an overall system view, much better system view. We definitely would like, I'm super passionate about PC gaming, and AMD is super passionate about PC. So we'd like to kind of bring, some different perspective for PC gaming.
It seems smart, right? Because like your console experience was kind of help what inspired you guys to make Mantle, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
So that kind of pushed DX12. So consoles are already changing PC gaming in a big way.
Yeah.
Basically.
True. Actually, that's a good segue to DX12. So some of the DX12 titles have been a little underwhelming. Do you think 2017 is going to be the big breakout for DX12? And for the AMD fans who always want to say, why is AMD doing so well on DX12 when compared to NVIDIA?
Yeah.
On DX11.
Absolutely. First, I don't want to kind of quote numbers that I don't exactly remember. I have the data, I can share with you. So there is definitely kind of a, hockey stick stuff happening in 2017 with the number of DX12 titles, right? The engines and titles they are like, 1-2 year development cycles, right? So they've been working on it for a long time. So there's definitely a swell of DX12 titles and also Vulkan titles, right? Vulkan is also picking up. So you'll see that in 2017. The second part of the question, why does AMD do so well in the DX12 titles? The reasons are kind of multitude, but probably the most important ones are that the optimization point for a lot of the titles is around the game console. Right? And it makes DX12 and Vulkan make it much more easier for them to bring whatever they're doing on the console directly over to the PC. And so on the console, they utilize every little bit of the engine that they got, right? Because if you look at the specs of the console, much lower than a medium PC, but it actually kind of net performs better than like a mid-range PC. So to do that on a PC, we needed a lower head API, and also that that lower head API is one thing. The second one is exposing all the features that the GPU has. right? Like asynchronous compute and inlining of assembly inside the shaders. All of those features help them. And from a console developer perspective, if you think of their optimization they do on a console, or actually a game developer perspective, it is their IP. It is their intellectual property. And if you can utilize your intellectual property on more platforms, good for you. And before...
Especially with them costing so much to make these days.
Exactly. Before, they weren't able to. Like PC development is... And for a lot of them, PC development was an afterthought.
Yeah.
So in the DX11 days, what we did was basically all of this inefficient code that we get from the game developer, we were trying to optimize this inside the drivers, right? And we do on some titles, we still continue to do that in there, but it becomes a scale problem. How many titles can I, keep optimizing behind the back? And then it becomes basically kind of an arms race of which company has more engineers just to optimize inside the drivers behind the game's back, replace all that shaders and all of that stuff. And so, and the driver becomes like huge, right? The DX11 drivers, the old drivers they're massive, bigger than operating system.
Yep.
Graphics driver stack is bigger than the operating system because they are all, you can think of the old graphics drivers as they are multiple game engines encoded inside the driver, right? So it's not scalable, sustainable thing. Now the X12 driver is thin, nothing in there, and that's why actually in some ways it's a challenge for us because the game developer, the whole burden is on the game developer now. So that's why we have we increased resources on our game engineering side that will work with ISV. Then because DX12, the state comes from the game and goes directly to the hardware. There's nobody touching it.
Yeah, so in DirectX 11 it was on you and your drivers, and DirectX 12 is on the game developers.
Yes.
All this Vulkan talk actually segues into a Vega question that I have. So the only demo you've let people play so far is Doom running at 4K Ultra, right? And I played it, it runs awesome, it's great game, looking smooth. And it runs, it can hit up to 85 frames per second. But typically when you're running, it's running 60 to 70 frames per second. At 4K Ultra, everything cranked. Which beats the pants off of the GTX 1080. But that's running Vulkan. Would it still beat the pants off the GTX 1080 if it was running in DirectX 11?
Doom doesn't have a DX11 path.
Yeah, OpenGL. You got me.
You meant the OpenGL path.
Yes.
I think it would because at that resolution, things are more GPU bound, right? So less CPU bound. That's one factor. But let me not say that too confidently because the Doom developer had done some the console optimizations like the inline assembly shaders and all.
Intrinsic shaders, yeah.
Right. Intrinsic shader intrinsics they did bring in, and I don't think they are available through OpenGL. And that's not a fundamental OpenGL issue. It's just that we didn't invest into putting all the extensions back into OpenGL, which we could have. So I only have finite number of engineers, so they're just focused on one.
I have one more question related to that, unless you had something planned off.
Well, no. I had a different question related to physical stuff.
So you said that was running Vega 10, right?
Yes.
Is that the high-end Vega 10 or the entry-level Vega 10?
It's Vega 10 is a code name, right? Did we actually say Vega 10? You just said Vega 10, and I acknowledged. I don't know what
you said Vega 10
is.
in California.
That was
Yeah, again, in terms of speeds, feeds, bins, and all.
Not talking about it.
We have a lot of work to do to figure all of those things out.
So my question as an enthusiast, we know that NVIDIA says we give up on multi-car beyond SLI. If you want to do more than that, that's fine. And you guys, I think, have said we're still going to do multi-car, so three-way, four-way. Is that not saying specifically for Vega or future? Is that something you still think there's room for in the future?
Yeah, we definitely think there is room for in the future, and with the new APIs, DX12 and Vulkan, right? They made multi-GPU accessible directly to the game developer, right? So the algorithm to parallelize and distribute work among more than 2 GPUs is definitely an active collaboration we are having with various game companies and all. But it will take time. It will take time, right? So I still think that the multi GPU stuff. We should offer that. Why not, right? If you saw some 8K displays popping up on the show floor and all, right? So I think the PC gaming. That's the great thing about PC gaming, right? They are. There is enough interesting people that will buy kind of the latest, greatest kind of 8K display and want to drive all these pixels. Give them option. If they can buy 2 or 3 cards in there and put there. Give it option. That's been the greatness of the PC platform is that flexibility.
I agree. The PC is great. Tyler, question from the audience?
Yeah, just a general question about the interaction between Vega and FreeSync.
Okay, so the question is, how will Vega work with FreeSync?
I actually have a kind of question that ties into that, which ties into FreeSync too. So maybe I should do it after you answer that one.
Yeah. So, but by the way, FreeSync is based on kind of industry standard VESA spec and all, right? So we got the display engine supports everything on past FreeSync and some advancements on Vega definitely. And definitely supports FreeSync 2 and all of that stuff. So it solely kind of just moves forward. So yeah, sure.
So my question about FreeSync 2, which you guys announced just the other day, that's one of to me the most exciting trends here at CES. Is all of a sudden all these HDR monitors are popping up. I've been waiting for this forever. But the thing is, the implementations are kind of all over the place. Different monitors support HDR10. Different ones support Dolby Vision. G-Sync just launched. NVIDIA just launched G-Sync HDR monitors. FreeSync 2, I know, ties a lot into HDR. Is there any secret sauce that you guys have that improves the HDR experience with FreeSync 2?
So, the HDR capability, the bigger dynamic range capability, as you all know, has existed in many panels for a long time, right? But making it seamless, right, from the interface standpoint of view and from the software standpoint of view has been the challenge. And with FreeSync 2, it's, FreeSync actually, everything about FreeSync, there is no secret sauce. That was our entire goal, is not to have secret sauce so that we can have the panel vendors, the controller vendors, the software ecosystem, everybody just drive it with an open approach, right? So enabling the HDR, what we did was actually we looked at basically what are all the panel capabilities that already exist, okay? What are the GPU capabilities that already exist? How do we make that when the panel has these capabilities that it is easily detected by the operating system, in a convenient way that, oh, this is capable of HDR, it has this dynamic range, it has this depth and all, and communicate that information to the ISV in a robust fashion, and also kind of reward panels that actually have good HDR implementations, because they can now say, easy to brand and say, oh, we have FreeSync 2 support. FreeSync 2 means that we have the whole refresh rate, variable refresh rate technology, but also they're capable of supporting HDR.
So FreeSync 2, some of the high level benefits for gamers is the idea is it reduce lag, right? Because it just does a single pass of game tone mapping. It'll make it so that when you start playing the game, it'll automatically kick your monitor brightness up to, and all that stuff up to optimize HDR and go back to normal when you're on the desktop. But it requires game developers to use an API, right?
It requires game developers for, again, it depends, right? It depends on what parameters they want exactly control. Yes, if they, at the end of the day, game developers do have to take responsibility for HDR, right? There is no auto HDR that we can do with the original content because HDR, right? You'll see some benefit for certain cases and all, but the source content needs to be HDR.
So if a game supports HDR, but they, for whatever reason, haven't implemented the FreeSync 2 API, will you still see some of those benefits from FreeSync 2, such as reduced latency, auto brightness, stuff like that?
Yes, you'll see benefits in some cases.
Okay.
What I want to know, like as a consumer going out and they're buying a panel, there's a lot more FreeSync monitors out there. G-Sync is great and all, but it costs a premium to it. Do you guys see this only ending one way? Is the only thing that matters with monitors is just the sheer number of monitors that's supporting the standard versus their standard?
No, I don't think that's the way we should look at it. But what was really kind of interesting and in some way, positive, we were happy about it, but kind of unexpected was the amount of support we got for FreeSync. Right? It's just mind-blowing, right? It is disproportional to kind of our market share. Right. And the reason for that is because, as I said, it's a very useful feature, okay? And it was anybody else can work with it, right? It wasn't proprietary tried to, the AMD ecosystem, right? And that's why the panel vendors just loved it. And also the cost of implementing FreeSync for them is also much lower than other approaches that that are out there, right? So I think that's and it's just been quite amazing, given the kind of the top panels, right? Just like putting FreeSync, and we named it just off the cuff at CES in 2014 actually, right? It's basically 3 years ago CES, just at CES at the show, I just said informally to a journalist that, hey, we have FreeSync, they have, and it kind of became, now 3 years after, so many panels, so many monitors and all, and I see the logo on the panel boxes makes us very proud.
What I'm wondering is, and I mentioned this, we had Tom Peterson on the show, we talked about it. It sounds like they're a little, they're still not going to do FreeSync, but for NVIDIA, they're still they're the largest part of the gamers. 75% of gamers are running NVIDIA, something like that. But I bet a lot of those gamers are actually running NVIDIA video cards with FreeSync panels because it's free, it's cheaper. I'm wondering, do you think when those gamers go out to upgrade in a cycle or so, and they go like, hey, I've got a FreeSync panel, maybe I should get an AMD card, or
that's what I would do. Vega is coming, right? Polaris is already here for RX 480 is great. If, depending on your budget, and if you want to spend a bit more, you have Vega coming, and your FreeSync panel investment will pay off even more.
Last question on that topic for me, but do you think at some point they will support FreeSync to stop the momentum?
You want to get into politics?
No.
So FreeSync 2, on the other hand, it takes FreeSync's nice, everybody can use it, no problem. But FreeSync 2 requires, they're going to be in HDR monitors, which are naturally going to be more expensive. And they also require more certification, right? So you guys were saying you expect it to be a very small portion of FreeSync. FreeSync and FreeSync 2 are both going to be there. You expect there to be vastly more FreeSync monitors than FreeSync 2 monitors. Do you have any idea? Do you have a ballpark figure where you guys would like to be with FreeSync 2 monitor adoption this year?
With FreeSync 2 monitors, it's basically, it's going to start with a few key announcements. Hopefully they'll go down, go in Q1 or something. I don't have an exact figure of what, but by the Christmas time, what percentage will be FreeSync 2 and all.
Okay.
But I think, it will definitely help our panel manufacturers that, that FreeSync 2 gets kind of, some marketing value from them, and then it makes it easy for them to kind of upgrade their entire lineup by the time we get to next CES to have FreeSync 2 and all. There's also content coming, right? HDR. I mean, HDR is, you have seen the demos, right? It's just, brilliant. Right. But we have to drive the entire ecosystem to get there, right? And this is, and that's another great thing about PC market. It's not like about, hey, if 100 million guys don't get this, we won't do it, or 10 million. It's like, even if it was benefit for first 10,000 people, we do, and then the 10,000 becomes 100,000, 100,000 becomes a million, right? And that's the great thing about PC ecosystem, right? We are not deterred by, hey, it is starting small percentage, because everything on PC starts with small percentage, right? VR started with a few hundreds of headsets in dev kits, and now people are talking numbers in millions.
It's all over the place here at VR.
It's exactly right, and which other ecosystem can talk about that, right? It's that kind of stuff in there, right? The entire technology industry engine is run by PC.
Right.
Yep. You heard it here, PC better than everyone else.
Heard it here in PC world. Who would have thought?
Can you say, what can I ask? I'm trying to think of